I need to admit something to the whole world. And I know that it's going to be hard for a lot of people to accept. So I'll just come right out and say it. I like Twilight. Hi everyone, I'm Luna. Welcome to the Lunarium. Look, to be honest, this week I've kind of been struggling. The world is really crushing me. Basically, things are feeling really bleak. And I decided this week that I didn't want to discuss any serious topic relating to mental health, that I just needed to have a video that's more lighthearted and silly. So I decided this week we're going to do something that's barely even tangentially related to mental health, and we're going to read Stephenie Meyer's new book, Midnight Sun. Now, for those who don't know, Midnight Sun is basically the first Twilight book from the perspective of Edward. I first read Twilight when I was 13, and I was going through a really hard time in my life. And that, angsty, supernatural romance plot involving this wonderful, magical dream man being completely obsessed with, quite frankly, a very average, not special girl really spoke to my adolescent, angsty self. I thought I was straight then, and Edward literally became my idea of what a dream man would be. The really frustrating thing is that Twilight is the only thing that I've ever been taught ahead of a craze about, which I really wish it was something cooler, but there you go. I remember reading Twilight in, I think it was a 9th grade English class, and then I performed this monologue that I had written about being a vampire and wanting to drain the blood out of everyone in my class. Pretty cringy stuff. But I tried to get all my friends to read it because I thought the book was so amazing, and, no one seemed that interested. And then it was 2 years later, everyone was going, "Have you heard about Twilight? You should read it." And it was yeah, I have, remember? Remember when I told you? Why couldn't it have been cooler? Why wasn't I on top of the craze for I don't know. I kind of have embarrassing taste in books, I'll just say that. Even as I got older and I was able to think more critically about the quality of Stephenie Meyer's writing, the questionable nature of the relationship between Bella and Edward, the frankly strange depiction of vampires, just the very Mormon perspective of what a relationship should be, just all of these things that are, frankly, very problematic about Twilight, I still liked the books. They're a fun distraction, and they, that traumatized 12-year-old girl who still occupies a big part of my personality still just really feels comforted when I read Twilight. It's a fun little romp. I never liked the movies.
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
They're really quite bad, but ironically, Kristen Stewart is one of the reasons why I realized I'm not straight, so thanks, K-Stu. But I do think that the movies are part of the reason why the Twilight fandom got made fun of so much online. For quite a few years, the Twilight fandom was mocked a lot online, and then it just kind of receded into the background of our collective cultural awareness. But then Stephenie Meyer published Midnight Sun a couple weeks ago, and I actually haven't seen that many people talking about it, and I think we need to talk about it. I mean, obviously there are a lot more important things we need to talk about. I'm not serious about actually needing to talk about, but I need to talk about it. For anyone who doesn't know, Midnight Sun is the first Twilight novel, but from the perspective of Edward instead of Bella. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A POV story? Doesn't that kind of just seem like a fanfic? And you would be right. Stephenie Meyer published a fan fiction of her own novel. And the funniest part is, this isn't even the first fan fiction of the first Twilight novel that she's ever written and published. A couple years ago, she published a different version of Twilight where the difference is that the Edward character is a girl and the Bella character is a boy. Look, I have nothing against fanfiction. I've been reading and writing fanfiction since I was, 11 years old. I might have even written a Twilight POV fanfiction. I hope I edit that comment out. Look, the thing is, though, that one of the reasons why POV and gender swap fanfictions are some of the most common fanfictions to do is that it doesn't take that much creativity. You don't have to do all the hard work of coming up with a story. The story's already there for you to play with. It's just weird that the person who created the story seems to be unable to contribute to her own canon in any substantive way. I don't know. The weirdest part about all of this for me is Stephenie Meyer isn't hurting for money. Her estimated net worth is $125 million. Stephenie Meyer never needs to work again. It's fine if she has no more ideas. She doesn't need to write more books. So why did she write this? I don't know. Midnight Sun was actually partially released about a decade ago. Apparently, Stephenie Meyer was working on this book, and somehow someone got access to the file and released part of it to the internet. When that happened, Stephenie Meyer released what she had written, which was basically the first half of the book, saying that she felt so betrayed that she didn't think that she could ever work on the book again, but that she thought it was better for fans to see the material on her own website than for someone else to be profiting from it. And I get that, I really do. But then she released it anyway? I guess she got over it, and it feels kind of like a money grab. But hey, it worked, because, I bought this $28, I think at Target it was $22, but wow, $28? She's charging $28 for this? All right, I guess I get why she's doing this. Anyway, the funny thing is, because I embarrassingly wrote a Twilight POV fanfiction, I actually used the part of Midnight Sun that she had released already a lot in my own writing process. So I'm able to recognize that most of the first half of the book, which is all I've read so far, is the same. She didn't do a lot of editing with it. And she made a lot of really weird choices. All right, so enough of me monologuing. Let's just dive right in, shall we? All right. Chapter 1, First Sight. This was the time of day when I most wished I were able to sleep. High school. Or was purgatory the right word? If there were any way to atone for my sins, this ought to count toward the tally in some measure. See, this is the same. Maybe it's slightly tweaked, but this is exactly how Midnight Sun started when she ended up releasing it to the public about a decade ago. And why? She's literally starting Edward's POV story from the day that Bella first sees Edward. It's like even Stephenie Meyer can't step outside of the world that she already created enough to maybe we could learn more about Edward's past. But okay, for whatever reason, Stephenie Meyer decided not to add more to the beginning of this book and to start this story from exactly where Bella first sees Edward. All right, let's continue. When it came to the human mind, I'd heard it all before and then some. Today, all thoughts were consumed with the trivial drama of a new addition to the small student body. It took so little to work them up. I'd seen the new face repeated in thought after thought from every angle. Just an ordinary human girl. The excitement over her arrival was tiresomely predictable. It was the same reaction as one would get from flashing a shiny object at a group of toddlers. Half the sheep-like males were already imagining themselves infatuated with her, just because she was something new to look at. This language is disturbingly incel-y, talking about everyone but the Cullens as children, toddlers, describing the majority of men as sheep. It's weird. It doesn't read like someone whose mind I want to get a closer look into. Like, just from this is the first page, and I'm definitely feeling like it was better that we didn't know what Edward was thinking. So basically, it goes on, and this is another thing that really bothers me about this book, is that Edward's ability is to read minds. This is a unique ability that only Edward has. And Stephenie Meyer only seems to depict mind reading like speaking with your thoughts. So, Edward, Alice called my name in her head and had my attention at once. It was just the same as having my name called aloud. How was he holding up, she asked me. Basically, most of the time that Edward reads people's minds, they're having these thoughts that are in these complete sentences. So, let me know if it gets too bad. Thanks for doing this. Of course, she's already crushing on the Cullens. Fat lot of good it'll do her, Jessica went on. She's really not even pretty. I don't know why Eric is staring so much. Or Mike. That's not how most thoughts are. Like, sure, sometimes throughout the day, I am thinking these, like, coherent, oh, that's so annoying that so-and-so said that, or like, wow, I really wish I could do this. But most of the time, thoughts, for me at least, are way more abstract. It's like, I don't think, I'm really hungry right now. I think I want a sandwich. I have the sensation of my stomach rumbling, and maybe I'll think about a sandwich, and I'll maybe picture the fridge, and then I'll think about what time it is, and should I really eat right now? And it's not linear like that. You don't always think like you're having a conversation with someone. And it's lazy writing. Like, you really could be giving us so much cool insight into just like the average person. And instead, she chooses to continue what's set up in the first Twilight book of like, in Twilight, one of the things that's so frustrating about Bella is that she's the narrator, her perspective is what the audience is having the story filtered through. And Bella is so unhappy and kind of judgmental of everyone around her that she just kind of like is really snarky to everyone who's nice to her at all. And it seems like Stephenie Meyer just like doubles down by having Edward, the little that he shows us of the minds of anyone is really gross. Like the first girl who like works hard to be Bella's friend, Stephenie Meyer has Edward reading her mind and showing that she's just like a really shallow, judgmental person. And then Mike, this boy who like really tries to be Bella's friend too, she has him basically just think of Bella for sex. And all of this just seems, I don't know, gross. And just like, none of these people are real people. They're just these like 2D caricatures of characters. And one of the great things that a mind reading narrator allows an author to do is to like make every person seem more fully fledged, more like an actual person, and instead she's using Edward to make everyone seem even more two-dimensional. Like, all the voices I'd been blocking were suddenly shouting in my head. Wonder what music she likes. Maybe I could mention my new CD, Mike Newton was thinking, 2 tables away, focused on Bella Swan. Look at him staring at her. Isn't it enough that he has half the girls in school waiting for him to ... Eric Yorkie's thoughts were caustic and also revolving around the girl. So disgusting. You'd think she was famous or something. Even Edward Cullen staring ... Lauren Mallory was so jealous that her face, by all rights, should be dark jade in color. And Jessica flaunting her new best friend. What a joke. ... It's 4 dots, which isn't an ellipsis. I don't know why it's 4. Vitriol continued to spew from the girl's thoughts. I just, yeah, sure, there are shitty people out there. And, yeah, all of us sometimes, judge other people. But it's like she's really trying hard to set Bella apart, as she's not like other girls, you know? She's actually nice. Except this doesn't work, because we've read Twilight and we know that Bella was being just as bitchy to all of these people in her head as all of these people are being towards Bella. But anyway, now we have Edward's depiction of the first time that Bella and Edward actually interact in any way. The famous, I don't know, he wants to kill her scene? Talk about your classic meet cute. Bella Swan walked into the flow of heated air that blew toward me from the vent. Her scent hit me like a battering ram, like an exploding grenade. There was no image violent enough to encompass the force of what happened to me in that moment. Instantly, I was transformed. I was nothing close to the human I'd once been. No trace of the shreds of humanity I'd managed to cloak myself in over the years remained. I was a predator. She was my prey. Okay. I guess. Then he goes on, she smells so good, yada, yada, yada. Everyone's just, easy to kill, yada, yada, yada. I mapped it out in my head. I was in the middle of the room, the row farthest from the front. I would take my right side first. I could snap 4 or 5 of their necks per second, I estimated. It would not be noisy. The right side would be the lucky side. They would not see me coming. Moving around the front and back down the left side, it would take me at most 5 seconds to end every life in this room. Long enough for Bella Swan to see briefly what was coming for her. Long enough for her to feel fear. Long enough, maybe, if shock didn't freeze her in place, for her to work up a scream. One soft scream that would not bring anyone coming. I took a deep breath, and that scent was a fire that raced through my dry veins, burning out from my chest to consume every better impulse that I was capable of. She was just turning now. In a few seconds, she would sit down inches away from me. The monster in my head exulted. It's definitely an interesting approach to writing a romantic lead, to have him so clearly care so little about everyone but himself. I know that what we're supposed to get is that Bella's blood smells so good that Edward just needs to kill her. He can't help himself. It's just his vampiric nature. But what I'm getting is that literally all he cares about is himself. And that's kind of a hard character to root for. Basically, Edward's bloodlust is broken up for a minute when someone slams a folder shut, and he's able to think about the fact that he's committed to not killing anyone, and he doesn't want to break that promise now. So he endures this overwhelming bloodlust and tries then, once class ends, to rearrange his schedule so that he isn't in a class with Bella anymore. And he goes to the school counselor. The school counselor who is has the thought, her own thought, he's almost young enough to be my son, but then Still, Stephenie Meyer depicts her lusting after someone who presents as a 17-year-old pretty hard, which is gross. And then Bella comes in the office, so of course Edward, freaks out and says, okay, never mind, whatever. And then he gets in the car to drive all of his siblings home. And here is where I get really irritated. Because, okay, so apparently Stephenie Meyer doesn't know how to depict mind reading in any way that isn't just like this set of sentences the way that you would describe dialogue. That's annoying, but okay, clearly that's a limitation of hers. But I was excited to see how Edward being able to read minds meant that I would actually get to see how Alice's mind reading works. But no, we didn't really get to see that. Edward, Alice asked, alarm in her voice. I just shook my head at her. Without looking, I knew that Emmett, Rosalie, and Jasper had all turned to stare at Alice. She shrugged again. She couldn't see what had passed, only what was coming. She looked ahead for me now. We both processed what she saw in her head, and we were both surprised. You're leaving? She whispered. The others stared at me now. Am I snarled through my teeth. She saw it then, as my resolve wavered and another choice spun my future in a darker direction. Oh. Bella Swan, dead, my eyes glowing crimson with fresh blood. Oh, she said again. The picture grew more specific. I saw the inside of Chief Swan's house for the first time, saw Bella in a small kitchen with yellow cupboards, her back to me as I stalked her from the shadows, let the scent pull me toward her. Stop, I groaned, not able to bear more. Sorry, she whispered. The monster rejoiced. And the vision in her head shifted again. An empty highway at night, the trees beside it coated in snow, flashing by at almost 200 miles per hour. That... You couldn't have given us a little more from Alice, a little more of, description? Like, this is lazy. It's lazy. Whatever. Hey everyone, apparently my camera hates me because it decided just to not record the end of what I recorded last night. But I think I'm going to wrap this up anyway. I've ranted long enough. If you'd like to see me complain more about Midnight Sun, let me know. I'd be happy to make more of these, but I'm also going to be going back to my regularly scheduled mental health content. I hope everyone is doing well. Please take care of yourselves. Until next time, bye.